Hello and welcome. I'm Susie Estengo and I'm the Managing Director of CoachMatching. During lockdown, many of our clients are having similar experiences and are struggling with feeling overwhelmed and being pulled in many different directions. So today I'm going to be speaking with Lily Breuning Ellis, who's going to share with us some of the easy and practical solutions that will assist us with dealing with anxiety and overwhelm and helping us to understand what to do to calm down. Welcome, Lily.
Thanks so much, Susie. Yeah, we're really living in an extraordinary time at the moment. And I think that we are globally all experiencing similar feelings. So I want to chat today about fear, anxiety, and overwhelm. And really, without going into too much detail, I want people to be able to walk away with just one or two things that they can do immediately and that they can do continually, that in the long run is going to have a beneficial effect for them. So I'm not going to go into the nervous system to a great deal of detail, but what I would like people to understand is that when we are feeling fear or anxiety, it is a response to a stimulant. So it is a responsive emotion that makes us feel in a certain way in our body. And it will be in response to a stimulus such as something that strikes a lot of fear in us, like maybe an intruder in our house, something that makes us anxious, perhaps a deadline that we don't feel prepared for. And therefore, we are experiencing elevated levels of adrenaline and cortisol in our body. So this is what all of us at the moment are experiencing. If I go down to the next slide, if you look at that slide, how does it make you feel? This is what we are all facing day in and day out. We are bombarded with images. We are bombarded with news reports. We're bombarded with conversations. I mean, when last did you have a conversation with anyone that doesn't have the C word in it? So if I look at that slide and I feel my body, or I think about how I feel when all these news reports come on, I feel tense. I feel stressed. My heart races. So just pay attention to your body. What does it feel like? That response is what we call a sympathetic nervous response. So your nervous system has got a sympathetic nervous response to something that induces a sense of fear and anxiety. It puts you into a fight or flight response. And that is a very appropriate response much of the time. But in the situation that we're living in at the moment, where the stimulus is not removed, it's an ongoing day after day thing, it is leading to a great deal of fear, anxiety, and then even the sense of feeling completely and utterly overwhelmed. So that sympathetic nervous response, how it makes us feel is it makes your heart beat faster, it pushes up your blood pressure, it dilates your pupils, you might feel quite hot and sweaty, and your system is being flooded with adrenaline and cortisol for a very good reason a lot of the time, because you need to flee or you need to fight, you need to somehow or another deal with this threat that is in your space right now. So the body is very alert. We have a sense of the danger. Because you are so alert, you've got a continual ambient anxiety, sleeplessness, and eventually, if the threat doesn't go away, you are going to be overwhelmed and exhausted. Right, so now we're going to look at the other side of the nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous response. So if you look at that picture, which is an image that I look at every day from my office, which is for me a wonderfully calming effect, how does that make you feel? Look at the picture and pay attention to your body. When I look at that view, I just want to exhale. It just makes my body feel heavier. Everything just seems to go a bit slower. And in this space, I can access clear, concise thought. I know that my body is feeling relaxed. I know that I don't have excessive stress hormones coursing through my body. So let's look at that parasympathetic nervous response. It's a sense of relaxation. Your breathing slows down, it gets deeper. your heart rate slows down, your blood pressure drops, your body might actually become cooler. And the very important thing, and this is the first and the most important part of my little presentation, is that this parasympathetic nervous response is stimulated by the vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is a very important nerve in your body that goes all the way from your brain. It travels all the way down to your heart, all your vital organs. In fact, it's like a vagrant. It wanders all over the body, and that's why it has that name. So it connects all your organs, and it is the vagus nerve that tells your heart rate to slow down, that tells your body exactly what to do without you even having to control it. And that's a very important point, because if you do something that stimulates your vagus nerve, your body is going to calm down, irrespective of the sense of threat that's going on around you. So if we look at those three states, if we look at fear, anxiety, and overwhelm, because I think that generally at the moment, these are the three states that we are dealing with. And there's a lot of emphasis on mental health at the moment, because if we don't do something to manage our levels of fear, our levels of anxiety, our sense of overwhelm, if we don't do something to bring that down, eventually it has got a very, very negative impact on our functioning and on our level of health. So even though we are in the safety of our home, we are facing this threat of coronavirus all the time. And it's not just the threat of coronavirus, it's also the threat of an unknown future. We have got no idea what is lying around the corner. How can we know? We don't know how long we're going to be locked down. We don't know how long this virus is going to, how long it takes for the virus to run its course. And we don't know what's going to happen to our businesses in the interim. So if we have to live in this continual space of fear and anxiety, we are going to end up completely and utterly depleted. So fear is stimulated by something very specific. And very often when the fear is removed, we go from a sympathetic response into a parasympathetic response, and we can relax. So when a threat is removed, generally your response is, phew, luckily that's all over and done with now. And you go back to a sense of relaxation. So at the moment, what are the fears that we are facing? Financial concerns, health concerns, loss possibly of a loved one, being cooped up for weeks. These are very specific fears, and these fears are not going to go away in a hurry. Anxiety is the state that we live in. It's an overactive sympathetic response. Sometimes some people have got a much higher level of anxiety than other people. So we're going to look at exactly that. What can you do on a regular basis that can address that overactive sympathetic response? So in a space of anxiety, your cortisol levels are continually raised. Another thing that is causing us anxiety at the moment is a sense of not enough. I can see in the way people are responding to the way they shop, how they're responding to stockpiling anything that they feel might secure them a little bit more during the coming weeks. So what we don't want is, we don't like to feel like we don't have enough of something, be it enough money, be it enough blue paper, be it enough guarantees that our businesses won't go down the tube. We do anything we can to counteract that sense of lack. And it causes enormous anxiety. When we eventually tip over into a state of overwhelm, that's that sense of, I just don't even know what to do. I don't know where to begin. I can't think straight. We have feelings of desperation. We find it very hard to get motivated. We're not sleeping well. Our mind is fixated on problems. The minute we wake up at night, our head just goes straight back to that problem. We might feel tearful, depressed, a sense of loss of hope, a loss of perspective. And that is a very, very critical state to be in. So what can we do? How can we kind of put a break on the fear, the anxiety that we're living with at the moment? It has to be something that we can control and that we can do for ourselves, that we can do at any point in the day, and that we can do regularly enough to give ourselves that sense of control, that sense of relaxation, and actually manage our own well-being. So the very first thing that we need to remember in any critical situation or anything that pushes us into fight or flight is that we need to breathe. So there's that saying, just take a couple of deep breaths before you respond. And there's an enormous amount of wisdom in that saying, because the deep exhalation and inhalation, specifically the exhalation, is what's going to stimulate the parasympathetic nerve, the vagus nerve, into a parasympathetic response. So those of us who practice deep breathing regularly, people that meditate regularly, actually have got a very fast parasympathetic response. So they might get distressed by something, or frightened by something, or anxious about something, but they will bounce back into a relaxed state quite quickly. And that obviously also is a big determinant for us, for our level of resilience. So first and foremost, you breathe. Now, there is a very specific breathing pattern which has been very well rehearsed. And Susie, I want to just take you and everyone who's watching the webinar through this breathing sequence, just to give you an idea of what it feels like when your parasympathetic nervous system kicks in. So the breathing technique is where you draw your breath in for 4, you hold it for 7, and you exhale for 8. So the emphasis over here is very much on the exhalation. And as we know, that's what stimulates the vagus nerve. So this particular breathing sequence can be used at any time. It's very effective for quietening your mind. So very effective for going to sleep, very effective for getting back to sleep if you wake up and become anxious. I've tried it. Well, in fact, I use it almost every single night, and it is incredibly, incredibly effective. So the next slide, in fact, I'm going to, no, don't worry. That slide must be right at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is just take everyone through just 4 cycles of the breathing sequence. So wherever you are right now, watching this webinar, I'd like you to just get comfortable. I'd like you to close your eyes. I'd like you to imagine yourself in a calm, relaxed place, wherever you feel happy and relaxed. It can be in a forest, it can be up on the mountain, it can be just in the room where you are right now, if that's a place where you feel quiet and calm. So just relax, close your eyes, and I'm going to just give a 1-word signal. So I'll say inhalation, and then you hold it for 4. Then I'll say hold. You're going to breathe in for 4. I'll say hold. You're going to hold it for 7, and then exhale. You're going to exhale for 8. Please, when you exhale quite strongly through your mouth. And it's going to be quite a long push. You are really going to be pushing all the breath out of your body. And that's exactly what I want you to do. Right. So close your eyes, relax, and take your first breath in for 4. Hold. Exhale. Inhalation. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Susie, can I ask you,
Yeah. Yes.
how does your body feel now?
Very, very relaxed. I feel like I've just finished an hour-long yoga class.
Okay. So if I have to
Yeah.
describe the feeling in my body now, it's almost like I have a tingling feeling. And
Makes
it's kind of heavy feeling in my body. So in other words, physiologically, just after 4 deep breathing cycles, something has changed in my body. In other words, I've released completely different neurochemicals. My body has gone into a different kind of a response from the initial slightly more anxious response, and now a sense of slower, heavier, quieter. Okay, so a
Lily,
deep breathing cycle.
can I just ask, sorry, Lily, to interrupt. Could
Sure,
I just ask one quick question? Because,
of course.
I'm aware of having done yoga for 22 years, breathing for me, this kind of breathing is very intuitive. However,
Yeah,
I'm sure that there are people who are listening who might find it quite difficult to hold their breath for 7 counts and to exhale if they haven't
yeah.
really been using belly breathing. Do you have any hints or tips that you could give for the novice when they're
Yeah,
starting to do the 4-7 breathing cycle?
absolutely. So start off with 1 or 2 cycles. So ultimately, you want to build up to 8 cycles, and that's on that specific sequence of breathing. Look, any deep breathing is going to be very beneficial. So simply breathing in for 4 counts and out for 4 counts is going to calm you down. But to get the best response, you need to breathe in, hold it even for 1 or 2 seconds, breathe out, hold it again for 1 or 2 seconds. That's, Susie, I'm sure you know, that's your sort of just your yoga breathing. And people can do it to the extent that they feel comfortable. You don't want to put yourself into more of a stressed state because now you need to hold your breath. So, just start off with breathing that you find comfortable, as long as it is at least to the count of 4. So with the 4-7-8 breathing, you can practice and build it up until you get to a point of where you can manage 8 cycles. That really is your ultimate aim. And then to do that 3 times a day. So just find a breathing cycle that works for you and that you can feel once you've done it for 4 or 5 cycles that your body is actually feeling different. You need to know that you are kicking in the parasympathetic nervous response. So my current slide that I have now, does that answer your question, Susie?
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you, Lily.
Okay. So I've got here a recipe for calm. I really want people to walk away with just 2 or 3 things that they remember out of the webinar. You cannot tell yourself to calm down. Your anxiety and your fear is a response to a stimulus. So you need to put in another stimulus that you can have a different response to. You can't just say to yourself, calm down. You need to actually do something. And that's why breathing it's just such brilliant knowledge to have, because that's something that you can do anywhere. And if you breathe deeply, you are going to have a different physiological response. The next thing is stop the stimulants. And something that is a huge stimulant at the moment is all of this information and stuff that's going on all all over our devices all the time around the coronavirus. So it's like watching a drama unfolding all the time. So limit the inflow of info. Allow yourself maybe a half an hour in the morning where you just catch up. And then don't watch things, turn your WhatsApp off, and turn your news reports off. Allow yourself another half an hour at night. But don't have that going on in the background all the time during the day, because it just causes this continual high elevated level of cortisol. Create a quiet space for yourself. At the moment, we just need this so badly. We can't go out. We can't go and do the things that used to calm us down. You need to create a quiet space for yourself wherever you are right now. Put things there that make you feel happy, that make you feel calm, things that have got a nice energy. I've got, what I call my meditation space. And it's got all kinds of strange things over there. But these are things that are important to me and that make me feel happy, that make me feel loved, that make me feel loving. That's my quiet space. So the minute I go in there, I already start having this relaxation response. And that's where I go and sit every day. I try to get there 2 or 3 times a day. I don't always manage. But I go and sit there and I can just be quiet. I don't have to think about anything. I can just do my breathing. I can focus on relaxing my body. You can focus on relaxing your body from your toes upwards if you've got a bit of time. That's another lovely way to meditate and be mindful. Just relaxing your body from your feet upwards. And the next very important thing, so there's your breathing, there's stopping the inflow of info. The next very important thing is create a daily schedule. It just gives us a little sense of control in a space where so much of what made us feel safe has been taken away from us. And it changes every single day. We don't even know what tomorrow is going to bring. So have that little schedule that you can focus on every day. You can draw up a weekly schedule. You can draw up a daily schedule. I actually just draw up a daily schedule. I do it the night before. I look at what my day, the next day looks like. I think about the chores in the house that I haven't got to yet. And I put that into my schedule, and it does give me just a little sense of control. So include this breathing ritual 3 times a day, if possible. Finish with your exhalation longer than the inhalation. I've given the example there of the 4-7-8. And then onto the next slide. These are things that you can do in your environment where you are right now that can really just bring down your stress hormones, that can release the serotonin, the relaxation response that you need. The first image over there, which works for me because I just absolutely adore my animals, is pet cuddling. So that releases oxytocin, that's the bonding hormone. That releases serotonin. It gives us such an amazing feel-good. Susie, I know that you are a lot like me in that way, that your pets are. And that pet cuddling time is just, it's a wonderful thing to do for yourself at the moment because you can. And on top of that, our pets are quite stressed because they're not getting out for their walks. So you can bring down their stress levels at the same time. The next image is cooking. Cook. Make it a family affair. Make it something that you all do together, and that's a way that you can all relax. Don't talk about stressful things. Talk about fun things. Think about what you're going to talk about. So when we get together as a family at night, we first of all practice gratitude, because that's another thing that is wonderful, wonderful for managing your own fear and anxiety, is just focusing on what you have and being just deeply, deeply grateful for that. And then I read a poem, because for me, poetry is a way that I relax. I find there are just so many wonderful, wonderful things going around at the moment. As much as there are stressful things and fake news going around, there's just wonderfully relaxing, beautiful things going around. And I try and read one of those things at night. Yoga is a wonderful way of relaxing, or any exercise that you can do where you are. There are so many classes being live streamed. We are spoiled for choice. We've got fantastic teachers out there, all of them trying to keep us sane, keep us healthy, keep us fit. I think I'm probably stronger now than I was before lockdown, because I am really making the effort, and I don't have to drive to my class anymore. So there really isn't any excuse. If you can find a half an hour in your day, do some form of exercise, even if it is just running or skipping on the spot. You can garden, you can plant a herb garden. It's not great timing at the moment for planting, but there are certain things that do like being planted in autumn. So get planting. The middle slide over there, I try to find something that depicted self-care. That's your quiet space as well. Have your candles going. Find some lovely oil that maybe you can even rub your own hands, rub each other's hands and feet. What a wonderful thing to do to just kickstart that parasympathetic nervous response. The final picture there is your breathing. So if you just remember breathing, number one. Number two, quieten down the noise. Control what's coming into your space. And number three, put that little schedule up every morning. Try and stick to it. And put in your pet cuddling in your schedule, your exercise, your breathing, your cooking time. And all I can say is do your breathing. We will get through this. This too shall pass. And we will all stand together. Thanks, Susie.
Thank you very much, Lily. That was awesome. And I hope the other people listening enjoyed it as much as I did.
Thank you.